Dikir Member of Parliament Johana was yesterday arrested in his constituency of alleged incitement and ethnic contempt. The legislator was arrested at his Mugondo home over the remarks he made on Sunday at Murkan that the police say were intended for incitement. During the Sunday event, Ngeno hit out at President Uhuru Kenyatta for the wrangles in Jubilee Party. This is the third time Ngeno is being arrested over alleged incitement. In the first case on September 3rd last year, the legislator was arrested at Olmekenyu Trading Center in Narok South on his way to Mau Forest to assess the situation following planned evictions. In the second incident on February 24th this year, Ngeno was arrested at Kimogoro Trading Center in Narok South Sub-County for holding an illegal meeting on the Building Bridges Initiative. We now want to cross over to Alan Uchanda, who is following up on this story. Alan, I trust you're well. One more, can you tell us?
Well, quite a chilly morning here in Nakuru, but remember that Emurua Dikir Member of Parliament, Johana Ngeno, had to spend the night behind bars. He was a guest of the state in this Nakuru Central Police Station here, because remember that that is where he'll be arraigned today and charged, of course, with charges bordering on ethnic contempt and just inciting and eliciting ethnic animosity between communities living in the Rift Valley, because remember that as of Sunday, he had actually given some sentiments that amounted to what they term as just triggering ethnic animosity in the Rift Valley, and of also issuing a public slur against the first family, where he accused the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, of just losing the sight and the leadership and the mantle of leadership in the Jubilee Party, and he actually accused the head of state of just relegating his deputy, William Ruto, back to what was termed as a clerk, because remember that last week, over the weekend, the CS for Environment, Keriako Tobiko, had issued a statement amounting that, insinuating that the deputy president was only a clerk to the president. So the statement by the CS of Environment has actually really elicited a lot of emotions within the factions of Tanga. And also remember that it's not only the Emurua Dikir Member of Parliament who is now on the radar of the DCI, or rather the NCIC, for the ethnic contempt, but also remember that the MP for Kapseret, Oscar Sudi, has been quite vocal and quite a critical defender of the DP, has been actually issuing similar sentiments and just in support of the DP, as just reading that the Jubilee Party has really relegated him back to what they have now christened as clerk. These are statements that have now picked from the CS of Environment, Keriako Tobika. But remember that this notwithstanding, we've seen the Deputy President now just raining on his troops here in the Rift Valley to just ensure that they tame their tanks, because remember that as much as they are defending him, then it's publicly viewed in the country that maybe they could be doing that with his blessings. And so he's really distanced himself. He's saying that every politician who has been elected has been mandated by the people. The sovereignty of the people has quite been donated to them, but they are speaking on behalf of their constituents. And so he's distancing himself from them, because remember that the Jubilee Vice Chairman, David Murada, had indicated that those persons who belong to the factions of the Deputy President Tanga wing are speaking on behalf of the DP, but the DP has now come clear via Twitter, and he's saying that he just wants his troops to ensure that they carry themselves with decorum and ensure that they restrain their tongues against lashing out such dirty slurs against fellow politicians, of course, more so against the president, who was actually viewed as the political party leader of the Jubilee Party, and also the president, of course, a symbol of unity. And so the DP is coming out and just distancing himself and ensuring that he reigns on his troops and ensures that they just ensure they tame their tongues and prevent from an implosion from within the Jubilee Party. But remember that as we are speaking at the moment, we've just established that the Emurua Dikir Member of Parliament, Johana Ngeno, will be arraigned here at the Nakuru Central Police Station, because remember that the court suspended their sessions because of the containment measures of the coronavirus pandemic. And so the session will be carried out here at the Deputy OCS office, and the presiding magistrate or judge will be sitting in Nairobi. It will be streamed live, and we're expecting that, of course, the charges will be bordering on ethnic contempt and just triggering ethnic animosity within the Rift Valley. Remember that the MP is not new to such charges, because remember that last year, at the height of the displacement and, of course, the evacuation and eviction of persons who are residing in the Mau area, he was arrested on similar charges, and he was accused of just inciting the communities living in the Mau, and he was arrested and charged on the same accounts. But remember that as he speaks about the Jubilee Party issues, he's not a Jubilee member. He's a KANU party member, and has been quite somebody who's been a dissenting voice in the party. And so he's been now gravitating towards the Deputy President, William Ruto, as they form the faction that maybe they are now coalescing around the Deputy President, ensuring that they now just ensure that they make the ground more now leaning towards the Deputy President. But remember that it's a story that we're still keeping an eye here to see as to whether the specific charges that will be pressed against him. But remember that here he's being charged in Nakuru, but he was arrested in Narok. That Emurua Dikir is actually in Narok, but at the moment he was arrested yesterday evening, his supporters came out in their numbers and tried to even prevent and shield him from being apprehended by the police, but he was eventually whisked away by the, of course, the law enforcement officers, and he was transported and ferried here to Nakuru, where he'll now be facing those charges that are bordering on ethnic contempt here in Nakuru.
And as you had mentioned, this is not the first time the Member of Parliament is being arrested. What does this mean for him, being the third time?
Well, actually, if you could just pardon, because I never got the last part of your question.
You had mentioned that this is not the first time the Member of Parliament is being arrested. What are the implications of him being arrested for the third time?
Well, looking at it is that the NCIC has actually put politicians on notice to just restrain themselves and ensure that whenever they are addressing political gatherings, because even remember that at the moment political gatherings have been outlawed because of the coronavirus pandemic containment measures. And so, but we've been seeing politicians just going against those containment measures and just ensuring that they actually address large crowds to just give their messages ahead of the 2022 election. But remember that these are issues that are actually domiciled and will be addressed by Chapter 6 of the Constitution, that is on the integrity issue, because remember that the Rift Valley has been quite the melting point of the country. And so any politicians, especially not just politicians in the Rift Valley, but all politicians in the country have been put on notice, and especially those who've been quite noted as notorious in just issuing inflammatory statements that amount to eliciting and triggering ethnic animosity have been put on notice by the NCIC, the National Commission on Integration, and of course the National Commission on Integration in the country has been putting them on notice. And so those are politicians who are now coming out as now common, who are quite notorious, and of course we're not just singling out the specific MPs, but looking at the charges that have been charged against them in the past. Is that some of the MPs, like of course Johana has been charged with such statements, and so it's been quite on social media. The videos of his statements have been quite on social media, and everybody has been watching them. And so we are waiting to see as to whether after these, after being charged with such charges, whether the NCIC will also be picking up the matter. And of course, moving forward, you've been seeing that we've been seeing other rights group even just pressuring the Electoral Commission, the IEBC, to ensure that such politicians are also expelled and their names being expunged from the list that are vying for the elective seats. But that is a matter that we are waiting to see as to whether it will be practical or not, as to whether their names will be on the ballot or not. Because of course, remember that these are statements. Even the common mananchi has the power of discerning to just ensure that they can differentiate the issues that are actually amounting to ethnic contempt, ethnic animosity, that trigger ethnic animosity or not. And so it's an issue that we're still waiting to see as to whether the specific charges that will be charged against the MP here in Nakuru.
Thank you very much, Alan Uchanda, for that. Alan Uchanda, they're just giving us an update on the situation. Emurua Dikir, Member of Parliament Johana is set to be arraigned in court after he was arrested yesterday over alleged incitement and ethnic contempt. Now, moving on, Leader of Majority in the County Assembly of Migori is set to table a notice of motion to impeach embattled Governor Okoth Obado. This is expected to set in motion the beginning of a drive to oust the governor, who is facing